Welcome to the Champs App podcast. Champs App is your recruiting and development copilot. If you are a player, parent, or coach, make sure to check out more content and tools to help navigate the world of youth hockey at champs.app. Also, if you've listened to the Champs App podcast in the past and it has helped you with your recruiting or hockey development, please tell your teammates and friends about Champs App. It would be even better if you subscribe to the podcast and review or rate us on whichever platform you're listening to or watching us on. On today's episode, we talk with Brandon Brown, interim head coach of the Post Eagles women's hockey team. We discuss the post-university academics, facilities, and hockey program. We also discuss why players choose the Post Eagles and what is going on in the current recruiting environment. This is a great conversation with Brandon, so please enjoy. Ready to see how you stack up against future Division I players? Champs EyeQ gives you an unbiased look at your potential. Just submit at least 10 minutes of your edited shifts, and our expert scouts will provide an objective, data-driven analysis of your game. We'll evaluate you on more than 15 skills, giving you both an overall rating and a clear trajectory for your Division I potential. You'll know exactly where you stand and what you need to do to improve. Learn more at www.champs.app. I'm excited to welcome to the Champs App podcast, Brandon Brown, interim head coach of the Post University women's ice hockey program. Originally from Hanahan, South Carolina, Brandon holds several all-time records as a goalie for the Post men's hockey team, including most games played, most saves, and most wins. After earning his degrees at Post, Brandon joined the men's team as an assistant coach and the women's team as a goalie coach. In April of this year, he was named interim head coach of the women's team. Welcome to the podcast, Brandon.
Ray, thanks for having me. It's exciting.
Hey,
I guess a little piece of some new news that came out. The interim tag just got removed last week, so super excited about that. That's kind of off my shoulders, so we're excited to be on it full time here.
Even better, breaking news on the podcast. I mean, There's nothing more exciting. It only happened a couple of times, but this is one of them. So great, thanks for letting me know. Congratulations, first of all. That's probably most important. So all right, so obviously, clearly you've been impressive with the administration with how you've conducted yourself the last few weeks and then obviously months with the team. We'll get into that in a moment, but why don't we just start off at the beginning? How did you start playing hockey in Carolina? I noticed that Hanahan isn't exactly close to Raleigh-Durham. I'm assuming you're a Canes fan, but you weren't exactly next door. You're about 4 hours away.
Yeah, a few hours down the road. I actually played my junior hockey in Raleigh. Grew up in Hanahan, like you said, right outside of Charleston, South Carolina there. My mom's actually from Pittsburgh, so big Pittsburgh sports fan. She went to a high school where the Penguins used to practice and moved down south to go to school and met my dad. And, it was kind of one of those, my mom was a figure skater a little bit, kind of just in Pittsburgh. So, rainy day comes along. What do you do with a couple kids in South Carolina? You take them to the ice skating rink, and me and my brother kind of got to it right away and didn't need the help of the walker or the wall. We just kind of went and saw some hockey players and said we kind of wanted to give it a shot. And, we kind of took it from there. I think it was one of those things that my parents thought, hey, they'll try it. They'll do the learn to play hockey, and then it'll kind of be one of those things that they phase out of, and they'll get to the soccers and the baseballs and things like that. And fortunately, whichever way you kind of look at it, we kind of just stuck with it, and we rode it all the way to me ending up here at Post, and my brother played hockey at the Air Force Academy. So we took it pretty far, and for a couple of kids from South Carolina, I'd say that's pretty good.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, so now, did your parents know what they were signing up for when you became a goalie? Like how did that all transpire? And did they recognize not only how expensive it would be, but how nerve-wracking it would be?
No, I don't know. It's weird. That'd be a great question for them, I think. I right away, I think I was drawn to the equipment right away. And I started playing hockey at 5. My brother was 3. I wanted to play goalie so bad. I was just drawn to it right away. And my mom wouldn't let me play till I turned 7. And again, like I said, I think it was one of those things. She was like, "Yeah, he'll play for a couple years. If he still wants to do, maybe it'll die off, and those feelings will go away." And seven came around pretty quick. And Mom, I want to play goalie. So she said, "Okay, we got to at least give it a shot. I told you you could." So did that and never looked back.
And what was the key to your success of being a goalie, especially given your location? Like obviously you must have faced a lot of shots at some point. So
Yeah.
what was it? What was the key to your success, and how did you develop? Because there probably weren't that many great goalie coaches in your area.
Yeah, well, for us, like I always think about it, like kind of going back to the start, and what made my brother and I just successful, especially in a market like that, was we just love to play, right? We didn't have a AAA team that we were trying to make every year, or looking to go away at that time and move hours away to play hockey, right? We were just a couple kids enjoying it with our buddies, and whether that was in the front yard in the driveway, or whether it was at the Carolina Ice Palace there in Charleston. So I think for us, it was just enjoying the game, falling in love with it a little bit at a time. And then, there was camps around. Like I remember I would do the Carolina Hurricanes goalie camp when I was young, and that's where I first met and got introduced to a goalie coach by the name of Bill Horn. He's still a goalie coach in the Carolina, in the Raleigh area. Um, so we connected. I worked with him when I was 8 all the way until I was probably, I don't know, 12 or 13. And then um, kind of wasn't connected for a couple of years. And then ended up making the junior team there in North Carolina. And he was actually the goalie coach. I didn't even know that at the time when I made the team and signed a contract. And so we kind of had an instant connection right there, and kind of went back every summer and stayed at his house and trained throughout the summers. And um, he's been such a great supporter of me and my career, and still someone I keep in touch with a lot today.
Perfect. All right. So how did you end up at Post University as a student and a student athlete?
Yeah, so when I was playing in Carolina, we had a really great GM and ownership group under Jocelyn Langlois and Lincoln Flagg, who was our head coach GM there. Um, and Lincoln Flagg was a just a walking Rolodex of coaches and GMs all over the country. And I remember sitting with him in his office one day, and we were kind of thinking about schools that would be a good fit, and talking about what was important to me in a school. And a couple things that stood out were the size of the campus. I knew I wanted a smaller campus, and I wanted the opportunity to play right away. So we were kind of looking through that and seeing, what were our options. And um, the program was going NCAA that first year. The previous couple years, they had played the split club NCAA schedule. My recruiting class was the first NCAA class. So he made a call to Coach Whitney, seeing if he was in the need for a goalie, and we kind of got connected from there. Came and saw the school. It was everything I wanted and more. And Coach was very fair right away with an opportunity of everything being kind of earned, and lucky enough to come into a new program and help build something, and obviously get the opportunity to step in and play some games right away, which was huge for me.
And obviously, you played quite a few games, considering how many records that you hold, which
Yeah.
shows some longevity. What was the key to your success?
You, you know, I It's tough because I never really thought about it ever since I stopped playing, right? You kind of think about it every once in a while, but again, it wasn't about necessarily for us in our program. It wasn't about the wins and the losses right away, right? We knew it was kind of going to be an uphill battle for us, and it was more about building the program. And I go back to my youth days, right? It was just making sure that every day you came to the rink, it was still something you enjoyed to do, and it wasn't necessarily outcome oriented, right? It was process oriented for us. um Showing up to the rink with a good attitude and the right mindset. And obviously when you have a group of guys that were kind of all on the same page, I think that's what made it enjoyable, especially for me to come to the rink every day.
Perfect. All right. So we have a lot of goalie players and the goalie parents who pay attention to this podcast. So I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you a couple of goalie questions.
Yeah.
First off, what makes a great goalie?
Oh man, how much time we got? I think for me, like, a couple things is, especially as you get into you kind of starting to look at schools and things like that. I think for me, I always look at consistency. Are we being consistent? I especially in the recruiting stuff now. I know we'll kind of get into that stuff later, but when I watch goalies, I like to see them play a couple times, and if I'm seeing the same things over and over again, and I'm seeing consistent play, that's something that I really like to see. I look for skating, right? Good goalies are good skaters. If you can skate, you can usually play. I think that's a thing regardless of size, right? I was an undersized goalie. And something that I really worked on was my skating. That was a daily habit of mine, and something that I think is still super important in the game today. And I think it's one of those things, especially with younger goalies now, where it's, oh, you're not a great skater, we'll just throw him in the net. I don't think that can be the case anymore. I think if you're not a good skater, you're not going to be able to get around. You're not going to be able to get around the crease and play at the level that you want to play. And then just competitiveness, right? Not want you want the pressure on the people that want the pressure on you are always the best goalies, right? They can kind of rise above that pressure and find the joy in that pressure, right?
Tired of spending hours emailing coaches with no idea if they're even reading your messages? Champs App messaging is the fast, easy way to send personalized, error-free emails and know exactly when they've been opened. The coach's name, school, and email are automatically populated for you, so every message is accurate and complete. Choose from smart templates that pull your details directly from your Champs App profile, whether you're sharing your schedule or a new video. Cut your email time in half and finally see which teams are showing interest. One parent told us, what used to take a whole evening now takes under 2 hours. Champs App messaging, faster, smarter recruiting, made easy. Are there any statistics that you actually look at as far as evaluating goalies? So, I always get parents asking me or telling me about their kids' save percentage. And, I also have listened to Kelly Rudy, the former, NHL player who's now an announcer, mention the only stat that really matters for goalies is wins. What's your perspective on statistics and looking at goalies?
Yeah, wins are great. Wins are always good, right? Coaches always want goalies from winning programs and teams that win, right? Um, I mean, besides that, like especially in the youth hockey, it's so hard, right? Because some teams are really good about keeping stats, and some maybe aren't, especially with all these showcases and tournaments that are kind of going on. You go and you play 5 games in a weekend. Who knows if you're gonna get the right stats? So, um, I mean, shots against is always a kind of a fun stat, like how many shots you get. Obviously, the goals against kind of factors into that as well. But just to see like if you're holding your team in games, are you giving your team a chance to win? Um, those are stats that I look for, and then obviously the wins are a huge factor altogether.
Got it. Okay, I got one last goalie kind of evaluation question.
Yeah,
So a previous guest, D1 head coach, said, she really prefers to just get on the ice and spend 10 to 20 minutes with a goalie. And that really is going to help her decide whether or not she likes, thinks a goalie
yeah.
has it or not. How do you do that if you don't, and other ones obviously are comfortable doing it just watching from the stands. How do you prefer to evaluate goalies? Is it in person or just watching them, or do you have to actually do both?
I mean, I think if you're able to get on the ice with a goalie, I think it's very easy to tell, like kind of quick, whether a goalie kind of has it or they don't. I mean, I think it's easy to tell sometimes too, just in the stands of, within the first 10 seconds of a goalie skating on the ice of whether or not they can stand up to it or not, right? I think it's kind of an easy thing. Like you can tell whether a goalie can skate when they're skating to their crease or how they warm up for a game. I watch games now and I watch goalies in warm up a lot. Like, is it a serious thing? Do they take it serious? Are they preparing themselves to play the game? Especially in youth hockey where they might only have 3 or 5 minutes to warm up. Is that a time where they take it super serious and they're getting themselves prepared to play, or is it just kind of I'm here to stand in the net and let people shoot pucks at me? But from the goalie coaching background in me, like if you can get on the ice, that's always a super fun thing and super easy to tell kind of right away.
Perfect. All right. Beautiful. All right. We'll get back to kind of recruiting and evaluating players
Yeah.
and things like that a little bit later on. Let's just talk about how you actually joined the coaching staffs, both the men's and women's team at Post after graduation.
Yeah, so after I finished playing, my head coach Pete Whitney retired, and the assistant that was there, Tim Richter, took over the program. Kind of looking at for a second assistant goalie guy, and I knew I wanted to get into coaching. I was a sport management major here at Post. I knew coaching was something that I wanted to get into after I was done playing, um, and I just kind of kicked the tires on it, seeing if there would be an opening for me or what his kind of thoughts were. He had hired an assistant in Andy DeAngelis already. So, I was kind of kicking the tires to see what his thoughts were on it. And lucky enough for me, kind of took me on as that second assistant and that the goalie guy. And then obviously Gretchen was in her first believe it was Gretchen's first year here, um, where I kind of asked her what her plans were for her goalies, and just knowing I was going to be around on the men's side and with practices so close together that if she would have any interest in having me come out and work with their goalies, and she was all about it. Gretchen was great for me, and um, especially in my young coaching career and everything that she's kind of done in her professional career. So yeah, it was just kind of, right place, right time for me, and obviously to be in a spot that I was super familiar with and with the staffs and stuff like that was super appealing.
Perfect. And for folks who don't know, Gretchen Silverman was previously on this podcast, and she was the head coach at Post from about 22 to 24 for a couple of years. So if you want to check out that episode, she was
Yeah.
also an Olympic gold medalist back in 1998. So a great episode with her. All right. So now, before we get into kind of your coaching situation currently, let's talk just about Post University in general. Located in Waterbury, Connecticut, about 7,000 students, if my numbers are correct. Maybe just tell folks about the school, the academics, why people, the different majors that people study there, and anything else that folks want to know about the campus or going to school there.
Yeah, for sure. We're actually we're super small, so that the numbers online get kind of skewed because we do have a large online population. So we are an on-campus online program. So with our on-campus population, we're right around 1,000, just over 1,000. A majority of our students that live on campus, probably just over half of that number is our student athletes, right? We have a very large. I like to think of it as more of like an Olympic Village type feel around our campus, super tight, super intimate feel, where everyone kind of knows each other, and we're able to build those personal relationships around campus. As far as our majors, like especially for our team, we're a biology heavy program. So a lot of our girls are on that health science track. We've had girls come through the program that are either studying for the MCATs or maybe they're in medical school now. And then a lot of girls that have gone on to PT school and are doing that kind of thing within the medical side. A lot of other girls, we have a lot of psychology. And then within our Malcolm Baldrige School of Business, our marketing and finance programs are really great, along with our sport management programs. So again, for us, it's all about the personal feel, right? The personal touch. I think for us, our average class size here is 11. So super tight, super small feel. You're able to really build relationships not only with other student athletes and other people from around the country or in the world here, but also with our professors, right? At the end of the day, we're here to be students first. We want our girls to make sure they're getting their education and they're taking that super serious. I've been lucky to take over a program where our girls have crushed the classroom side of things, getting highest GPA on campus the last number of years. So super excited about that. It's nice to, as a coach, to not have to worry about that side of things and be running around looking for professors and things like that. So, but again, you're able to build really great and tight relationships with professors. Um, all of our professors here have been great. It's nice to walk around campus and see professors that I had when I was here, um, which has been really cool for me to kind of see on the other side of that, especially with our players now, kind of being in similar situations and using what I learned here to try to help them, which has been really fun. But again, those relationships help when we come to look for internships, jobs after school, um, letters of recommendation and things like that. It's nice to be able to go to your professor and say, hey, um, I really would love you to write a letter of recommendation, and your professor being able to say, yeah, I'd love to write you one, and be able to really customize that to you as a student and as a person, rather than maybe you just get a chat GPT, generic letter of recommendation. But I think that's what really kind of makes us stand out, is being able to really build those tight knit relationships.
Perfect. All right. Maybe now talk about the facilities, especially on the strength and conditioning kind of training facilities, as
Mhm.
well as the rink. So it's my understanding, you play at the Sports Center of Connecticut in Shelton, Connecticut, but you
Mhm.
guys are in Waterbury, and there's a little bit of distance between the two. So there's a bit
Yeah.
of a commute as it relates to going to practices. Maybe just talk about how that works. I believe that rink also used to be shared with Sacred Heart University before they built their rink.
Yeah.
So what's the story with kind of your training facilities and your rinks?
Yeah, we have a great athletic complex on campus here with our varsity weight room. Our head strength coach, John, and his assistant, Anastasia, do a really great job of customizing our hockey program workouts for the girls. Everything's kind of within an app that all the girls have. So they're able to go in and get their workouts done on a daily basis. Also really helps us in the summertime when we either have girls going home for the summer and also our new recruits coming in are able to kind of get on that app really early and find workouts so they kind of know what's expected of them to be ready for fall camp when they come back to school and fitness testing and things like that. On campus, we also have a shooting room, um, just an area. Obviously, like you said, we do play off campus, so it's nice for the girls and obviously the men's team to have a place where they can kind of call it theirs and get away and work on their game on campus without necessarily having to go down to the rink to get that extra ice. And then obviously at the rink, we do have a really good setup. We do play 20, 25, maybe closer to a half hour with the traffic that they're doing on Route 8 right now. Um, but down at the rink, we do have our full locker room, athletic training room there, and obviously we have a coach's office and equipment room as well. So um, plenty of space for us. The rink's done a really great job of making sure that we kind of have everything that we need, and they're working with us constantly to make sure that um, we're in a good spot with them. So yeah, it's a good setup we have.
And for comparing yourselves to other teams and programs,
Yeah,
that's a pretty long drive. What's your
sure.
what's your kind of selling point on why driving 25 minutes is a good thing to your players for to get to the rink?
Yeah, I mean, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. We can't all, obviously we all want the nice shiny toy like Sacred Heart has down the road. That's always great. Hopefully we're at a point in a position where we can get there one day too. But again, for us, like it, I and you know what? I hate the term. It is what it is, right? But for us right now, like that's our situation, right? And we want people that are able to come in and be a part of changing that situation, right? I will say that the drive is a beautiful drive right through the mountains, right? The leaves are changing colors right now. I really look forward to my drive to the rink every morning. And yeah, I mean, some of the girls really enjoy the drive, right? They like to get off campus for a little bit and be able to get their mind right on the way to the rink. Sure, we wish it may be 10 minutes closer, but um, it is nice to get off campus and have that little bit of freedom away from campus and the drive through the mountains never hurt either.
Perfect. All right. So now let's talk about the women's program in a little bit more detail. Like you mentioned, congratulations. You're the new head coach, but you're also the fourth head coach in 5 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So as we kind of mentioned, Gretchen was there, Isaacson was before her, and then you had Pat Bingham, who was there just for 1 year, and he actually had a great year. I'm just
yeah.
kind of curious, why did Pat leave? Do you know anything about that? And
I
then,
don't.
okay.
Yeah, I don't really have any info on that. I think that was just kind of a mutual thing.
Okay, got it. And so, anyhow, you guys had a great year last year. So, which is why I was surprised that he left. You
Yeah.
literally beat every Newha team at least once and made it to the semifinals for the first time in the Newha playoffs. So, obviously, a lot of momentum. You were a part of the team. So, maybe just talk about the season last year and how it went.
Yeah, we had a great group, obviously. It was fun to come to the rink, and that group you could just tell was built a little bit different, right? They had a bunch of different elements that you kind of had your older group that kind of led the way, and then you had some young players kind of fill in some big roles that maybe you didn't really expect right away. And I think we just kind of rode a little bit of momentum into the playoffs. Obviously, you can't say enough good things about Hannah Saunders and the run that she went on in net for us. Obviously, those two shutouts um, in the playoffs against Franklin Pierce don't go unnoticed for sure. But again, I think we just got hot at the right times, and people were playing in places where, they made the most of opportunities, and we just kind of rode that wave.
Gotcha. So, now that you're head coach of the team, what's your vision for the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's taking that next step, right? We talk about continuing to climb that ladder. We talk about the process every day here of kind of what we want the process to be and what that looks like for our group and taking the next step for our program, which is again continuing to win playoff series and win those out of conference games eventually, right? Like we can't, but again, we talk about it all the time. We can't just snap our fingers and those things happen, right? So for us, it's continuing to build, and like you said, it's what, 4 coaches in 5 years. So I think when I was looking at the job and seeing kind of my thoughts on the program and things like that, um, that was something that stood out, and something that I said, hey, we need some stability, right, within the program and the athletic department, but also the girls, right? The girls, they need some stability. They want to know someone's here for the right reasons and in it for them, and for the program, right? They don't want someone that's going to come in and use this as, I might be here for a year. We're going to see how it goes, um, which is kind of what I saw, and um, I hope they see that I'm in it for the right reasons and we're doing things the right way.
Got it. Well, you definitely wear the post university underwear because you've been there for so long, and you've clearly shown your dedication to the school. Now, has the school shown the dedication to you as the head coach and the program? Because one thing's very clear. Modest resources equals weaker competitiveness for programs.
Sure.
You only have
Yeah.
one assistant coach, Shelby Page.
Yeah.
St. Mike's is in a similar position. Meanwhile, you're going up against teams with 3 assistant coaches who can afford to have one coach almost every weekend going away recruiting, while the other 2 are still on the bench with the head coach plus their operations folks. I mean, how do you see the resources that you have and how you can be competitive with what you have?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I should say, like, our administration's been great so far since I've took over. Obviously, Karen Mann, our athletic director, we talk on a weekly basis, obviously, and then people within the athletic department, we talk all the time of, what do we need to be doing to get more competitive, and I think that's, you asked the question of how do you get more competitive, especially with the, like, those out of conference games, right? That's, I think a little bit of it is those resources, like you mentioned. So we don't have that right now, and that's something that we need to look at and see if we can continue to build our program and get to that point. Because yeah, I think the biggest part of is the recruiting piece, right? And you can say, it's, um, everyone's looking for the shiny thing, right? Everyone loves stuff, right? Everyone um likes the extra stuff that you get, and we want to be able to provide extra stuff, but that extra stuff might not be, um a $60 million rink on our campus, or um unlimited sticks, right? Like, those stuff aren't things that we can kind of do right now. Hopefully, that's something that we can get more competitive in down the road, and say, hey, like, these are the things that we need in order to help us continue to build this program and continue to fight for those players that then help us go and beat those out of conference teams. So I think for us right now, that when you ask that question of what can we do, I think it is a little bit resource based. Like you mentioned, our staff is, myself and Shelby, and we have a great hockey ops guy, Larry, um, who we're working as hard as we can with what we have right now in order to bring girls in that are, that, um, boot and lunch pail type people that want to be a part of helping us take it to the next level. And we're fighting for that every day.
Got it. So, let's keep going down this topic around resources. So when I think of resources, obviously, sticks and
Yeah.
other, free goods
Yeah.
is great. But what really, what it takes to be successful are enough coaches, enough scholarships, enough folks doing video review and doing analysis, or getting on, for calling, you know, saying challenging calls because you got somebody upstairs to be able to do it. Like,
Yeah.
do you have all those resources that you need to, recruit the best players and give them the best experience and to be successful at this point? Or is it something that you need to go and, get more resources over the coming years by proving your success?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Like, I think we just need to continue to do what we're doing right now and focus on getting more competitive with what we have in order to get more resources. Obviously, that second or third assistant coach and the coach upstairs would be great, but we do really well with kind of what we have right now in terms of our video review. Like, Shelby and I both kind of break down and look at video on a daily basis. I'm watching video whether it's one-on-one or with a group of girls or different power play units and things like that on a daily basis. So yeah, I think that's something that we just need to continue doing with what we have. And I tell the girls all the time, right? Like, in order to get more, we have to do our part with what we have right now. So we can sit here and we can make that excuse, or we can lace up the skates and we can work hard every day with what we got right now. And we can only do so much. Again, we talk about the controllables. Um, I can only do so much in terms of what our scholarship dollars look like, or what our staff budget looks like. I can only do so much with that. So at the end of the day, it's up to me and our staff here to make sure that we're doing whatever we can to recruit the best players that we can, and then develop those players, and then make sure that we're competitive every day.
Perfect. All right, let's get into some of the recruiting stuff. What I was very surprised when I looked at your roster is how many Canadians you have. So what's the story behind that?
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy, and people ask me all the time. They're like, "Whoa, you have 90% of your roster is Canadian." And I think one thing that we have going for us at Post is we have a really great international scholarship program that allows us to go out and get Canadians. That obviously with the exchange is kind of tough, and we're able to stay like competitive in that aspect with it. But yeah, I think it's something that, previous coaches have thought that that's the way to go, and find those Canadian players. We've had some success, obviously, in our recruiting so far with some American-born players, so we're excited about them as well. But yeah, it is kind of crazy when you look at our roster makeup and you see so many Canadian flags next to the names.
Perfect. All right. So maybe just tell us where you're at in your recruiting cycle. I've seen several commits for 2026 be announced recently. I haven't seen any for 2027. Are you still looking for 2026 players? I'm assuming you're still looking for 2027s. Where are you at, so folks know? And by listening or watching to this, maybe they can reach out and express interest.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2026, we're just about kind of capped off. We got a couple offers still out there, still actively seeking maybe one or two forward, just kind of waiting to see here. And then 2027, we're kind of wide open. Obviously, we've had a bunch of great 2027 visits, and some offers be extended, but as of right now, we're wide open. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
So get you those emails in if you're interested in
Absolutely.
2027, and it's after June 15th because he can respond.
Absolutely.
All right. So here's my other question for you. I've written about this, is that if you're considering playing D1, but you're limited in your opportunities, let's just say, and you're also looking at D3, why would someone pick Post, and on what has historically been a weaker D1 team compared to a top ranked D3 team? What's
Well, I
your
think the
what's your
first
pitch to them?
Well, I think the first thing that automatically stands out is the scholarship dollars that are there, right? Like, again, we might not be able to compete with that upper echelon of those D1 schools that are giving out, 26 or whatever the number is, full ride scholarships. Um, but again, we are able to help out financially, right? Like, on top of just your merit athletic or academic scholarships, we're able to help out there. But also too, like for us, it's um, being a part of something that's still young, right? Like, with whether you look at our program as a whole in terms of D1 hockey, we're the only D1 sport on campus or program on campus. We're within a Division II athletic department. Um, and then you look at the NUHA as a whole as well, and it's still a young, growing uh, conference, up and coming. So I think that's a little bit of it too. Is just, hey, yeah, you can go to one of these established maybe D3 programs and you're going to have a great experience there. Or you can come and have a great experience here and still be helping building something that has, the potential to be something great, right? We want to make this a place that girls want to come play college hockey. And in order to do that, like you said, like, the resources will have to come. But um, if we can get the right people in here that are here for the right reasons and buy into kind of what we're preaching in terms of, the standards and the expectations, along with our culture and team identity, right? Those are the people that help grow it into something bigger and make it into, like, people here that are for the right reasons. Um, So yeah, that's kind of what we're after. Those are the people that we want here.
Perfect. You did mention it just really briefly. Maybe you could just talk about how scholarships work, both on the athletic side and the academic side for players who want to come. I'm assuming for Canadians, there's like, obviously got to be some real financial incentive to come,
Yeah.
given, as you mentioned, the exchange rate and the total cost.
Yeah, so for us here, obviously, like I mentioned, we have that international scholarship program that all of our international students qualify for, and then we also have our merit and athletic scholarships. So merit money is money that comes right off the top, just in terms of your academic aid, and that's your grades in high school. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Your grades now in high school are super important, right? That sets the foundation for you as a student coming into school, and that's the first thing that a lot of coaches are going to look at and say, hey, um, are you a 4.0 student? Are you a 3.2 student? Right? How much money is she going to get? That then I might have to use scholar athletic money on top of that, right? So if I think, especially like you said, um, those border D3, D1 girls, that's a bit of a factor too. Like if you have a maybe a player they're pretty close, but one has a 4.0 GPA and one has a 3.2, that 4.0 player is really enticing because now you might not have to give them as much um, athletic money on top of it. So that's something that definitely is a big factor for us as well.
Perfect. Maybe just talk about a moment what's going on in this year's recruiting cycle for 2027s. Obviously, since you haven't gotten any commits officially yet for 2027, this actually might work to your advantage because we're probably at least 2 months ahead of where we were last year. That means there's a lot less positions open, but you're still looking. So a lot more players might be ready to say, hey, yeah, post now that I don't have another option. Post now really looks good to me. What's your perspective on how things have accelerated, why they've accelerated, and the impact on your recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's done nothing but help us, right? Like, there are the amount of emails I get on a daily basis from 27s and players looking for spots is pretty unbelievable. And now, especially with you factor in, like you said, the accelerated timelines and also the portals done wonders, whether it's good or bad or ugly, however you kind of want to look at it. Um, but for us, I think it's done nothing but help us. It maybe gives us a little bit more time to kind of be a little more um, selective on who we want and the players that we're kind of watching on our list right now. So in terms for us, I think it's done nothing but help us.
Perfect. And what recruiting advice do you have for 2027s and maybe even 2028s at this point in the recruiting cycle?
Yeah, for me, like I think the biggest thing is you coaches get so many emails on a daily basis, right? And it's so hard to keep track of um, who's in your email, who's in your inbox, who have you responded to, who have you not responded to, who's on the list, who's waiting. So for me, it's following up, but following up and it's all about being concise, right? Like if you have film, send it, break it down, send it, and make sure that we know all the little details about you. And I think for me, the biggest thing when I watch film is um, I don't want to see just you. I don't want to see you score 5 goals. I don't need 5 clips of you scoring a goal, right? I like to see who you are as a player. If you score goals, I want to see you score goals. That's awesome. But do you block shots? Are you good on the penalty kill? Um, do you play special teams? Are you on the power play? Are you a really good first pass D? Right? Those are other things that you can build into your video that just make you stand out more. Maybe a player has played multiple positions. Maybe they play center and wing, right? Maybe some clips of both, or you have a forward that maybe drops back on D. Um, so those are all good things that you kind of maybe wouldn't think about when you're breaking down film or sending film, but those are things that coaches really love to see.
Okay, last couple of questions. What other attributes are you looking for beyond just the skill on the ice when it comes to your recruiting?
For me, the first thing that stands out is skating. I think when you walk into a rink, you can obviously see the best skaters that can get up and down the rink and add speed to any offense. I think that's really huge. And then play away from the puck, right? Like I think the difference between a lot of these top, U19, U22 programs and the things you see in college are the minor details of things. Did you have your stick on the ice in this spot and you break up a play versus maybe your stick's at your hip and they make a play by your feet. Um, how do you back check? Do you back check with a purpose? Do you stop on plays or do you do a big rink turn? Those are big details for me that I see in games and are big difference makers. And then obviously you get into the other side of things, like, are you a good teammate, or are you slamming your stick on the bench coming back after you make a bad play, right? Those are things that are easy to see. Body language is um, big as well. So those are all things that you can kind of see, but also things that you can control.
Perfect. All right. Now, flip it around the other side is what advice do you have for players and parents when it comes to the recruiting process?
I think especially for us and kind of where we're at, right? It's about being patient, right? Like you may not be a girl that gets a bunch of calls June 15th, and that's okay, right? That's perfectly fine. Not everyone's timeline is going to be the same. Again, reach out to people that you feel like you have a chance to play. Find out what's important for you in a school. That's for me. I found out what was important. I knew I wanted a small school. I knew I wanted a place that I'd have some opportunity, and I knew I wanted to be a part of a young growing program. So Post for me checked a whole bunch of boxes, and luckily for me, I checked boxes for Post University. So again, be patient, but also make sure you're doing your research on schools. It's never a bad thing to when I talk to girls on the phone, and I like to be able to have a two-way conversation. I don't want to just um, go one side. Hey, this is what we are. This is about our hockey program. This is about our university. I like when someone, takes a little initiative and does some research and is able to have a good two-way conversation with some good detailed questions on about us. And I've got no problem talking about us, that's for sure.
Perfect. Yes, and we just had a whole podcast full of you telling us about all the great things about the school and the opportunities to play hockey at Post University on the women's team. So, want to thank you so much for doing this, Brandon. This is great. Congratulations on the new title. I wish you the best of luck this year, and hopefully it's even better this year than it was last year.
Thank you so much, Ray. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I want to thank Brandon for coming on the podcast. It was great to hear about how he is leading the Post women's hockey team, how they strive to compete in the Newhock Conference, and his recruiting insights. You can connect with Brandon on the Post team website or via his Champs app profile. Links to both are in the show notes.